on the road to recovery in Castle Rock, Colorado. Live from Millville, New Jersey, I'm on the road to recovery. We're on the road to recovery in Morgantown, West Virginia at Mountaineer Field. And live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm on the road to recovery. Here I am on the road to recovery from Berlin, Maryland. Hey, from Caseville, Michigan, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. On the road to recovery in sunny South Florida with my good friend Fatih Penda. What a crazy story, but an amazing journey of recovery. I can't wait to share his story with the world. I'm on the road to recovery in sunny South Florida with Fatih Penda.
I'm Fatih Penda. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. Growing up, I was raised different. I was raised a Muslim by my family. They were from Turkey and from Greece, so my house had a lot of culture in it. My father was an alcoholic, my mother as well. They would frequently drink every day of the night, and me and my sister would be around it a lot. We were actually had a big family and had cousins and stuff, and my family would do get-togethers, and my father owned a pizza store, so he would put newspapers on the front window and throw parties on the weekends. He would have, gambling, because it's like a little casino. They'd have games going on, card games, belly dancers, all sorts of things going on, and all the little kids would be hanging out there too in the basement, and they would just keep us busy by, I guess I would say that's when I first started tasting alcohol. When I was around the ages of 9 and 10, they would give us little Turkish teacups and coffee cups full of ouzo, which is rakı, and that would kind of keep us calm and keep us busy, and they wouldn't even have a babysitter. They would just come down and check on us once in a while. I think I knew I was an alcoholic then when my cousins wouldn't like the taste of it and they would put it down, but I would guzzle mine and then guzzle theirs and like the effects at a young age. Growing up, I remember my father was abusive. He would, abusive as the form is when we did wrong, there was no timeouts or, go sit in the corner or no TV for a week. It was basically you catch a backhand or a beating. Around the age of 19, my mother and father got a divorce, and that took a huge shock to me and my sister. And at that point, I was kind of lost. And I remember I was out with some friends, and all my friends basically drank and did snort coke and take ecstasy, and we were out one night copping some cocaine, and they said, the guy that sold to us said, you guys are more than welcome to stay here and, do what you need to do. And I remember there was other people there that were cooking it, and he said, why don't you guys cook that stuff? It's worth it. It's a lot better than just snorting it all night and getting a stuffy nose and all that. So we tried it, and I remember I first smoked crack at the age of 19. And at that point, it was kind of game on. Growing up, my mother and father were very, very into me and my sister learning Turkish and seeing our culture. A lot of my family's from Turkey, so my mother and father would take us there every summer, and we would spend a month or two over there and, hang out with our relatives and hang out in my mother's, homeland and get a feel for where we came from. They always wanted us to be bilingual and, learn our cultural and be raised the way my mother and father were in a Muslim setting. They never really wished that I think I'm in this position that I'm in, where I'm a man in recovery today, and I put them through the 15 years of hell and torture. They were very into us getting our education and our high school degree and going to college and getting a college education. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. In 2005, as our pizza store was coming to an end because of my failures of smoking it to the ground, basically, and gambling it to the ground and not being a responsible man, I had a surveillance team from a drug task force unit watching me, and it was April 7th, I believe, of 2005, could have been April 4th. I actually was out at night after we closed our pizza store, and I was out copping cocaine and selling it as well on my way back home, and I got cut off and angled in from a drug task force unit. I didn't know they were drug task force. They didn't identify themselves, and I was so paranoid. I believed they were just out to get me and jump me. So at that point, I I tried to flee from them, and when I got out of the car, I ended up on the ground, and my life, flashed before my eyes. I woke up in a hospital, and I reflected to like movies, the way like Carlito's Way is and stuff. I woke up in a hospital room with correctional officers at the door and detectives inside the hospital room questioning me as I woke up with my arm in a sling stapled up. They had told me I'd been shot and under arrest and read me my Miranda rights again. At this point, I knew things were getting out of control. I was incarcerated for a little bit of time, a little over 8 months, and I spent some holidays and birthdays in jail waiting for a sentence. I was looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 for assault and battery with attempted murder on a police officer. And I was almost 26 at this point, and I came out, and I didn't stop where I left off. It only took me a matter of a couple months. I thought I could drink like a regular man. I said that's what my family always did when I was growing up. No one ever got involved with all the heavy drugs I did. This time I got to do it differently. And I went back to drinking, and it was only a matter of time before I picked up the crack pipe again, and I was back on that. And that lasted some time, and I was arrested again. And this time, luckily again, a lot of money for lawyers and figuring out situations. I was put on probation for 5 years, and for 5 years, I kind of just did everything legit and legal, if you want to say, by getting doctors to prescribe me the meds I needed. I got prescribed the methadone, I got prescribed Klonopins for sleep, for the trauma, and I was drinking, and my life was going nowhere. I was engaged at the time to the girl in Georgia, and I was viciously smoking crack cocaine every day from when I woke up to went to sleep. I was calling the cops on myself, hiding pieces of crack and ground coffee in the coffee machine. Life was getting really unmanageable, and things were falling apart real quickly. And my wife at the time, kicked me out of the house. I went into treatment in South Bend, Indiana, where I did a detox and a 90-day program. At that time, I was served a Manelpe envelope with divorce papers from my wife in Georgia, and I knew that I couldn't go anywhere after that near Georgia because I would get arrested. When I left Banyan, I came up to a new start in West Palm, and I looked around and saw what people were doing. They were walking around with the big book and the AA book. I started my journey May 1st, 2015, where I actually took recovery seriously, and I went into men's meetings, and I started to hit my knees and pray. That was what was suggested. And being raised a Muslim, it was tough to hit my knees and pray like that. Saying the Serenity Prayer and the Lord's Prayer were all prayers I was not familiar with and believed it was against my religion. But I was open to that, and today that's what I do. I've done that for over 20 and a half months. It's something that's helped me in my journey and in my part of recovery. I took that upon myself to take it the next level. I did get a sponsor. I did work through my 12 steps of AA. And I did do what was next, which was help the next alcoholic and addict out. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. It's an hour of your time to read with someone once a week. I've got a fiance now, and she's pregnant, almost 3 months. I work for a facility that I went through, and I'm blessed to be an outreach coordinator who gets to reach out to people and talk to them on a regular basis, to their families, and help them and give them my experience and hope. What recovery's done for me is, just doing simple things and living life like a normal person. I tell people sometimes, listen, they're laughing too hard. They must be on Cymbalta. They must be on Prozac. That's the only reason they could be laughing. I see a guy too energetic, I would say he must be on something like an opiate, like a Percocet, because that's what I would see. But when I came into recovery, I learned that you don't need any kind of medication to be happy. Today I can be happy without anything. When I go home at the end of my workday, I'm just happy to be home. I'm happy to see my girlfriend, or fiance rather. I'm happy to see my dog. I'm happy that I can go to the gym without a drug. I'm happy I can sleep without a sleeping med. In a couple years from now, I really hope to have an intervention license where I can intervene with families and maybe have, the opportunity to grow in the field that I've been in for such a short time. In 9.5 months as an outreach coordinator, I've actually picked up and learned a lot where I see my future growing and, growing in the company where I'm at. As far as a new start, as they grow, I know I'll grow. And if I can get my intervention license and help other families and friends and maybe, eventually have enough money to put aside and open up a little gym so that me and my fiance could have our own little hobby / business on the side, while we're raising our kid, that would be something ideal and a dream that I think can come true today.
Hey, yo, Fatih, Penda, thanks so much. I knew you wouldn't call your story in. I knew you'd deliver it. Your passion, your drive is just incredible. And I'm grateful that I got to meet you, that you've become a good friend, and that I was able to share your recovery story with the world. I'm on the road to recovery. I'm going to every state in America, and I want to tell your story. If you know someone who's got a great recovery story, please reach out and let me know.